welcome to Hair Metal Revolution. Trying out a different time, trying out 1 p.m. See how everybody likes it. If everybody likes the 1 p.m. better than the 10 a.m. Pacific time, then we'll move it to this time. Or we'll move it to 2 p.m. or something. So just trying to find that perfect time that all of us could join together, talk about the music that we love. Because we're giving it the respect that it deserves. Now, we're talking about Kiss. For a second, disclaimer. Doesn't really truly matter what era of Kiss you like the best. We're just using this topic as a conversation to talk about Kiss. There's the 70s, 80s, 90s, 00s, so I don't want anybody to get into this war to say this is better. But for some people, there are albums they like better than the others. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to give you guys my honest truth. We're going to have fun with it. So it's not wartime, because I know there's some hardcore Kiss fans that, no, this is the era. This is the era. Listen, Kiss has made great music throughout the band's career. Sometimes we think maybe they had a little better songs during this era. So it's all good stuff, guys. We're all just here having fun. So that's not, if you like a certain era better, that's great. It's just for conversation. Because like I said, we could pick and choose whatever Kiss songs we like, because there's Kiss songs to this day. It's great and it's good. When I think about American bands, right? You think about America. I don't know if you guys think about pure American bands, British bands. One of the things you think about true American bands, you always think of like Aerosmith, Aerosmith and Kiss, right off the bat, in the 70s, Aerosmith and Kiss. And there's so many great American bands. But when you think of bands that really represent, America so well, you always go back to the 70s with the beginning stages of Aerosmith and Kiss that just helped set the stage for bands to explode in the 80s. One thing about Kiss, I've heard some people say, I never liked Kiss. Never liked it. I wish Kiss never existed. And when I talk to them, like, so what's some of your favorite bands? And they'll name me some of these bands that would have been a band without Kiss. Kiss has influenced musicians and bands throughout generations. People became bands because of Kiss. So what, Aerosmith is all about the music, right? Kiss was a little different. Kiss was about the music, but they were really about the entertainment too. They really wanted to give you a bang for your buck. They want you to go to a Kiss show like Kiss on Broadway, but it's all live. They really, truly wanted to give you the best show. Gene Simmons says, you wanted the best, you get the best. I mean, the whole show, the whole atmosphere of Kiss wasn't just the music itself. It was the entertainment value that they gave you, right? Growing up in the 70s, I was born in 1973. So Kiss first album, I was a baby, right? But a lot of people that I've heard who grew up that are older than me, like my good friend, Danny Statton, that's from, South Carolina. He's a little older than me, not by much. He's a little older. But, he can remember when, the mystique of Kiss, the makeup. Who are these guys? And the stories of, the comic books written by Kiss Blood. I mean, Kiss has really put the entertainment of, buying the tour shirts, buying the toys, lunch pails. I mean, Kiss was it. They were their own marketing team. I mean, the marketing that all these bands have, you could say that Kiss really, truly, typically invented marketing, right? So, I mean, Kiss has done so much more than just the music, not just the entertainment, the marketing world, the business world. I mean, my God, there's so much that you might not think Kiss is the greatest music in the world for yourself, but you can't say that the marketing that throughout the 80s and 90s were not influenced from what Kiss did. You guys remember one of the most famous things that George Lucas did with Star Wars? One of the most genius deal that he made, that when he got with Fox to distribute his movie, one thing he said is, but I get all the rights to the merchandise. All the merchandise is mine, right? He probably got that from Kiss, because that's what's Kiss. All the merchandise will be through us. It's going to be us. We're going to get paid for it. Why should major companies get 90% and we only get 10%? We're going to market it. It's us. It's our brand. And Kiss was a freaking genius on it. I mean, what more can you say, right? So, we're not going to too much talk about the 90s. I mean, we're going to talk about some music, but what I'm talking about is the two main eras. The main eras is 70s and 80s. Let's be honest. Makeup era Kiss and the non-makeup era Kiss. The true hardcore Kiss fans love it all. Some say, I only liked it when they had the makeup. When the makeup came off, they weren't really Kiss anymore. And listen, everybody has the right to feel what they want. Nobody should discourage anybody the way they feel. And if that's the way you feel, so be it, right? Kiss for me was very, very, very interesting because, again, I was born in 1973. So I never experienced like a true teenager would with the mysterious Kiss, going to the Kiss concert in the 70s. The first taste of Kiss that I experienced was actually Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, the movie. That was my introduction into Kiss, because I had bigger brothers. They had, they had their friends. They were a lot older than I am. And I remember when Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, let me pull that up. Here we go. I like to pull up some stuff at the same time. Meets Phantom of the Park, 1978. And I own a very good bootleg copy of it. Bootleg, probably Gene Simmons probably heard that. It's like, hey, you got a bootleg? We didn't get a dime for it. Hey, I want a dime for that bootleg of Meets the Phantom of the Park. So that was my introduction to Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. I'm like, who are these guys? I mean, 4 guys dressed up like the Demon, Star Child, Spaceman, Catfish. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it was like, wow, what is this? And listen, when you're a kid, 78? I was 5 years old. Shit, that was the greatest thing in the world, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. I loved it. To this day, I still enjoy it. I know the band hates it, except Ace Frehley said he had a fun time doing it. He was probably drunk through the whole thing, but hey, that's what it is, right? So, I even have a cartoon series that a 2D animation that I done a lot of these episodes. And one of my episodes was about, I basically made a sequel to Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, part 2. I actually made a sequel with the cartoon because I enjoyed it so much. So that was my introduction to like really seeing Kiss for the first time. So it was really like 1983 when I was, when I got into music, when I heard hard rock. At the time, all these bands were called heavy metal. It doesn't matter. Everything is just titles. We're just saying rock. This is when I got into like rock music. And I remember somebody had the Kiss album, Lick It Up. And I remember they're playing Lick It Up. I go, oh, that sounds like that band from that movie, Phantom of the Menace, right? So I was listening to it, and I look at the album cover. I'm like, who are these guys? This ain't Kiss. I had no idea that, because again, the only thing I've really seen of Kiss was the Phantom of the Park. I was 5 years old, 1978. So 83, I was basically like 10 years old when I got into the music. And so I had an introduction, and the song Lick It Up was a fantastic song, but I think the rest of the album wasn't good. I think Lick It Up was good. And I'm like, I thought they had makeup. So I learned a lot about Kiss in the background because of that movie. I kind of remember that a little bit different than Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, because the first time I heard Ozzy was Blizzard of Oz. That was fantastic. Then I learned that Ozzy was in a band called Black Sabbath, but there was like really no huge connection with me and Black Sabbath at all. So, you know, to this day, I prefer Ozzy over Black Sabbath, even though I love Black Sabbath music. But Kiss, because of the Phantom of the Park, I always remember my first memory was always the makeup, even though I didn't really hear their music until Lick It Up. So, you know what I mean? So, and all that. And guys, I always try to, you know, read chats at the same time. So sometimes I might get off project. Kiss was the monster of rock in the 70s. Yes, I like both. Yep. It's really like all American band. Consider the fact that Gene Simmons isn't born American. He was born in Israel. All the other members were from New York. Yeah, you're right. But Gene Simmons is more American than most Americans that were born here. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, you know, Gene Simmons has told stories about the mom had she couldn't even speak English, and when they asked her like to raise her hand, she didn't know better, and she went like this, and it wasn't that she was for this other regime. She didn't know better. You know what I mean? So, and Gene had to learn everything through American TV. You know, he saw the Beatles and music. So, yes, Gene wasn't born in America, but man, Gene Simmons is more American than American. Okay. Gene Simmons is American, right? Shit. Probably back in, good thing he wasn't over here now. Fucking ICE is probably taking him away. Fucking ICE. We're not doing politics here. Kiss stinks. No, they don't. Kiss don't stink. Hey, if you don't enjoy their music, that's one thing. Say, I never got into Kiss music. That's fine. Don't say they stink, because they don't stink. Their music is great. Right? The impact they had on the music industry is beyond almost what most bands have done and tried. So Kiss don't stink. You don't like the music? That's fine. That's one thing. But don't say Kiss stinks. That's honestly, that's a dumb comment. I got to see Kiss back when Ace and Peter came back to do their last show with them at Fort Myers. Yeah, 2006 World Tour when they got back together. Detroit Rock City, awesome movie. That movie was great. I love that movie. And anybody out there haven't seen Detroit Rock City, it's basically about kids wanting to go to a Kiss concert, you know, and their journey from getting their friends out of school, getting hassled with people from disco era. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to really spoil anything. It's about how these like four guys get to a Kiss concert in Detroit. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it, and it's Kiss is the premises, but the movie is not technically about Kiss itself. It's about these kids wanting to go to the Kiss concert and how they're going to get there. You guys all remember, a lot of us in the 80s and 70s, and for me, mostly in the 80s, it was an event to go to a concert. Get with your friends, get in the back of a truck, start drinking some Kool-Aid. We all drink Kool-Aid back of trucks, right? You know, so it was an event. It was fun. It was like going to a concert in the 70s and 80s and middle of 90s when everything was general admission. It was like hanging out with the people like yourself who loves music, right? Because we all went, if you ever went to high school in the 80s, some 90s, you know, it was really divided. You had your preppies, your jocks, you had your metalheads, whatever you want to call it. There was a lot of divides. And if you were liking this kind of music, you were considered the white trash of the school. You were. It's a fact. You were considered white trash if you like Kiss and bands like that. It's a fact. There's nothing to hide around that. So when you went to an event, to a concert, you were hanging out with people like yourselves that were probably made fun of. People look down on you as devil worshippers. You know what I mean? And all these people you're around with were all there having a good time. Nobody was worshiping the devil. Nobody had five. I mean, maybe some. There might be some, but you know what I mean. We were in Brokeback Mountain. Were you in Brokeback Mountain by any chance? You fucking stupid idiot. That's so funny. Were you in Brokeback Mountain? You're a fucking dumbass. I'm sorry. That's a dumbass comment. That's a dumbass comment. When you got against people in Brokeback Mountain, I mean, that's prejudice right there. That's a prejudice remark. I hate it. Get the fuck out. Sorry about that. I hate that shit. You know, it's like making fun of people for being who they want to be in life. I don't like that shit. People have the right to live the way they want to live in their freedom. And the Brokeback Mountain shit don't fly with me. That's stupid. Peter Chris sat on a bucket and sang Beth through Blue Rose in the front row. That's freaking awesome. I'm laughing my ass off. The 80s probably had better music, but Kiss and makeup was pure myth. Heavy songs, heavy image, and mysteries that made them larger than life. RP, Ace Frehley, the real spaceman. The first time I saw Kiss was in 77, was my first concert with the guys, no parents. Right on. Skid Row, Ted Nugent, and the original Kiss for $45. Man, you can't beat that. There's no way you'll ever going to get that again. Dude, there's a not a Kiss band, one of those cover bands. There's a Kiss cover band playing somewhere, and a Kiss cover band tickets are $45. $45 nowadays can barely get you into a cover band playing that music. Isn't that sad? Been a Kiss fan since I was a little boy, around 10. Best live show ever. Okay. I love that. I'm glad we caught up on the chat. You know, this is why we do live shows, because it's our show. It's our show. Except for the stupid idiots that comes in. They just want to say Kiss sucks, this and this and this. You know, Brokeback Mountain boy. It's just, there's no place for that garbage. We're here for a good time. I love you guys. Thank you for you guys sticking around. Danny, you see that kind of guy, that kind of shit? Kick him out. I don't care. I don't like those kind of comments. I love all people. People should be who they want to be. Nobody has the right to make fun of anybody at all. All right. Now, again, with every show, not that one, I like to show album sales, because you learn a lot. Not learn a lot, but it's always interesting when you look at album sales. Now, some of this is mostly American sales, but you know, and these were, bands have to pay to get certified, and bands don't pay to get certified anymore. So it's hard to know exactly what the actual numbers are nowadays. But this is just for fun. We're looking at it. Kiss has sold over 100 million copies worldwide, including 20 million, over 20 million in the United States, 220 in United Kingdom. So they sold a lot of albums, right? Kiss Alive sold over 9 million copies. You know, it's rare. It is rare for most bands to have a live album that is their most selling top chart album. It's rare. It's very, very, very rare. But for Kiss Alive 1975, in so many ways, saved the band. You know, they were with a brand new company, Casablanca. Kiss was like one of the first bands they ever signed. And even though they were kicking ass in concerts, doing well, everybody seeing them, but they were selling a lot of the albums. And you know, especially for a startup record company, to keep your record company going, you have to make money. For every great band that a band that you sell is great, you have 1,000 bands that will never make it. You have great bands that kind of feed the whole studio for other bands. But this is a brand new one. So it was almost like every dollar they needed Kiss to make it. But they took a chance on creating a live album basically saying everybody knows Kiss is best live. So why not record it? Now there's stories about how they did some stuff in the studio with it, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter at this point. This live album basically kept their careers going. Kept it going. And of course, they made Destroyer, that. But what's interesting here is their second highest selling album was Love Gun. Great album in the 70s era. Sold almost double than Destroyer. Usually a lot of people will say, what was Kiss like best album? And almost everyone by percentage probably would say Kiss Destroyer is their best album. And you probably hear that the most, but Love Gun sold doubled. It's interesting. What made it sell double? Destroyer had great songs. Love Gun has great songs. Was it because Ace Frehley had his first song he sang on that album? Was Shock Me? Was that it? Does anybody in the chat? Anybody in the chat want to make a guess? Why? How did Love Gun? I thought Destroyer was going to be their second highest, but it's being behind Alive 2. Okay, that makes sense. But I had no idea that Love Gun outsold Destroyer almost by double. That is so interesting. A greatest hit album sold over 2 million. Dynasty, over 1 million. Crazy Nights, over 1 million. Analyze, over 1 million. Rock and Roll over 1 million. Now, what's interesting is we all know the story about after Dynasty, the disco era, and how the popularity of Kiss, basically, they almost died. I mean, they almost went obsolete. So they took off the makeup during Lick It Up to reinvent themselves. But right before they invented themselves, in so many ways, an album that kind of goes like unwashed is Creatures of the Night. I kind of agree with Danny Stanton on this, that Creatures of the Night, even though Peter Criss wasn't on it, and apparently Ace Frehley's on the cover, but it was really Vinnie Vincent who was on the album, not really Ace. And Ace, when he was alive, even say he don't remember having any guitar riffs or anything on it. I could be wrong. If I am, put that in the chat. Creatures of the Night only sold 500,000 copies. That disco era hurt the band so bad because that album, Creatures of the Night, should have sold at least over 2 million copies. 2 million copies. And I'm not joking. It should have sold over 2 million copies. If you think I'm wrong, then, call me wrong. So that was very interesting. One of my favorite Kiss album for myself is Kiss Rock and Roll Over. Oh God. One of my favorite songs on that album, Rock and Roll Over. I love Paul Stanley's song, Mr. Speed. Love Mr. Speed. I love that song. Destroyer was a high production type of album. Rock and Roll Over, it was almost like they kind of went back to the basics to get that live feeling, but not live, but on an album. And what I love about that Kiss did was, and you guys can disagree with me all you want, that Destroyer was a high production. It was a high production album. I mean, it really was. They put a lot of stuff in that album, to create that album. And for them to, and actually, let's back up for a second. That album wasn't successful until the song Beth came out. Even with Detroit Rock City, that album was about to bomb until by accident, a DJ played a B-side, Beth, and that Beth became a #1 song, won them a Grammy. And that song, Beth, saved the album. It really did. It truly saved the album. But instead of trying to repeat that same success with that same style, they kind of went back to the basics and kind of created like this live album almost, but created in a studio, rock and roll over. And the way the album sounds, to me, is my favorite. Let me see here. Let's see. Everybody bitches about the prices of tickets, but it takes a lots of money to put on the show like that. You leave the show exhausted. I've seen them 22 times. I understand what you're saying about bitching about pricing, but there you get to a point that you are outpricing fans. You're outpricing true fans, right? And then because of the price, like, okay, going off subject here, right? Gonna go off subject here. And I hope how I'm saying this, you understand this. My daughter, she's a Taylor Swift fan. She's a Taylor Swift fan. She is. And I had to take her to a Taylor Swift show. And the prices was outrageous. I mean, it was beyond outrageous. It's almost like you had to put your house on mortgage to buy tickets, right? My wife was able to get some tickets. We took her to Taylor Swift. And when you see the fans there, you could tell they were all true or real Taylor Swift fans. They were there because of the popularity. They had the money. It was like I was in a stadium of all pure rich kids. All the true fans are priced out. The real fans that buys your albums and shirts are the ones who can't go. They can't go because they can't afford it. And I know I've been to a lot of shows that, some heavy metal shows in the last 10 years that people don't even really know the band. They're just going there in the price. And the real fans of those bands who I talked to, who I know wanted to go, they just can't afford it. So in a lot of ways, it's almost like it's sad that you're kicking out the real fans and you're bringing in the people that just going for an event, but they're not really there for the love of the band. They're not really there for the love of the band. You guys get what I'm saying? So, and prices are going to go up, and it's almost like where there was a time that we will all try to go to every single show. You just can't do that nowadays. You have to pick and choose what show you go to now. So it's a harder thing. So for a lot of people, cost is it, and a lot of beautiful, true fans just can't afford it. I mean, it is what it is, and I get it, and I get it, right? I mean, back in the day, we said this on my last show, that concerts were there to support the album. There is no more supporting the album. That's gone. So now the concerts are there to support the act, because it's not about the album, because albums don't sell no more. Albums don't sell. So they're not. So the whole reversal on what the concerts were there for is totally switched. And that's so I get it. For survival, you got to do the price. That's why you have VIP, and all that. Sorry, everything costs more now. Strange Way, Harder Than Hell kicks ass. Here, let's go here. Let's look at streaming numbers for songs. I want to pull it. It always kind of interesting. So the most streamed song for Kiss is "I Was Made for Loving You." And guys, any one of you who knows me, know, I'll tell you the truth on how I feel. I don't lie just so you guys will like what I say. I will never do that. I will never do that. That song, "I Was Made for Loving You," that played 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion. I hate that song. I do. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I hate. Oh, hold on, guys. 1 second. I'm going to play you a little clip from Paul Stanley sticking up for people trying to get it for his politics. Give me a second. Hold on a second. Give me a second here. Because I got hold on a second. Let me pull this down. Give me 1 second. Let me share screen. Let me get this up.
Some comments you had made about his leadership. What made you decide? What was your decision-making process to come, participate, and be part of the ceremony despite that?
This is not a political event. This is a celebration of the arts. And the idea that anyone would ask previous winners who they voted for or what they believed, it's irrelevant. So it's an aberration, and the whole idea of aligning the two is nonsense. And for the most part, my political beliefs are mine, and I certainly don't disagree with some of the president's policies.
Is any particular one?
You've said.
I had to go run do something real quick. I apologize. I had to go run do something, and so I played that clip because I respect. Nobody has the right to know who people vote for. Stop asking those stupid questions. Whoever somebody votes for is who they vote for. Leave it alone. And I love how Paul Stanley shut that down. So going back, I was never a fan of "I Was Made for Loving You." I hate it. One of my favorite songs of Kiss. It's hard to say number one, but if I had like to put like a top 5 in a way, if that makes sense, you know, I love It Loud. I love Mr. Speed. Shock Me is one of my favorites. I love the old-fashioned sound of Strutter. I love Calling Dr. Love. War Machine, even though War Machine was written by Bryan Adams, War Machine is a kick-ass song. The songs that Heaven's on Fire is not like a favorite, but I love how Paul Stanley sings "Heaven's on Fire." I think that song kicks ass. I mean, we all like Rock and Roll All Night, right? We all like that. Now, a lot of people like the remake, "God Gave Rock and Roll to You." I'll be flat out honest with you. I hate that remake. I don't like that song, "God Gave Rock and Roll to You." I don't like that Kiss song. I don't. Just be honest with you. I don't like that remake. I really don't. And another Kiss song that I absolutely hate, that a lot of people love it, but when I hear it, I turn it off. Tears Are Falling. I hate Tears Are Falling. I do. I hate Tears Are Falling. You know, you give me a good remake, guys, from Kiss, 2000 Man. Great freaking remake with Ace Frehley singing on it. Of course, Cold Gin's a masterpiece. Creatures of the Night, great song. Unholy, I love that Gene Simmons songs. I mean, of course, we all like Black Diamond. All Night, Paul Stanley, great freaking song. Rise Toots, all good. You know, come on. Christine 16. Can that song be made nowadays? Can Gene Simmons get away with that song nowadays? Christine 16. He'd probably be. I don't think there's any way Christine 16. It's a good song, but there's no way Christine 16 could get away with nowadays. There not in our climate. Not in our climate. There is no way he could get away with it. You know, now give me a second here. You guys, where is it? Where is it? I want to hold on a second. Do you guys believe Paul Stanley on this comment here? Let me go here. Paul Stanley breaks silence on Kiss dropping the makeup. What do you guys think of
I
this?
saw you for the very first time without makeup. How come?
Because you must always be honest with yourself and with the people who love you. And when you wear certain clothes because you love them, that's okay. When it becomes a uniform or a costume, then it's not honest anymore. When we put the makeup on and the outfits, that was not masquerade. That was who we felt like. It was saying, this is who we are, but bigger, you know, than the actual personality. But after 10 years, you can't be expected to look the same way. It's too easy. It's predictable, and people get too comfortable with it. I don't think in 10 years you will look the same. If you had to, you would go crazy. It would affect how well you do what you do. So for the honesty of what we do, we said, we're going to take this off because it's not who we are anymore. And if people...
What do you guys agree with that? They broke it off because they almost killed their career, you know, making that, oh my God, that one album. Oh God. Jesus. Music from the Elder and doing disco. You know, they almost killed their careers. You know, they weren't selling arenas no more. They were only selling arenas when they were out in the other. So I love the 70s era better. I thought there was more good songs on the albums, where almost, in my opinion, almost like all the songs are great. Where in the 80s, I had to like pick and choose what songs I liked from their albums. I felt like the 80s albums had more fillers. I mean, don't get me wrong, they had Your Heaven on Fire, but then the rest of the album, you know, Crazy Nights, the rest of the album, you know what I mean? I mean, to me, they didn't start making the album where you can justify every song is average or better until they got back to Revenge. Even though Dynasty was awful. The only song I liked off of Dynasty is the remake with Ace Frehley doing 2000 Man. That's what I'm saying. I hate myself for loving you. You know, I hate to say this. You know, I took my wife. She never seen Kiss. I know there wasn't the original lineup, the end of the world tour. But I told her, honey, when they play that song, I hate myself for love. I was made for loving. I hate myself for loving you. I was made for loving you. I told her, I go, that's a song that I go usually take a shit or take a piss or buy a beer. And when that song came on, I left, took a shit, took a piss, got a beer because I do not like that song. You know, That's when Kiss became not inventors, they became followers, right? They became followers. They, disco is huge. No, let's do disco. And disco died quickly. It died quickly. Hey, happy birthday to Paul Stanley, 74 years old. Still young, still young, still young. So, I'll say it like this. What Kiss songs do I listen to most is the 70s versus any other era. It just seemed like the 70s had that feeling where you could play it in any era and it sounds great. It really does. There's something about lower budget sounds that just sounds fantastic. And of course we all know we lost the great Ace Frehley. We all love Ace Frehley. I did a show about Ace Frehley. Sometimes it's good for a band to play a song you don't like because then it's an excuse to go to the bathroom and grab a drink. And listen, and listen, of all our bands that we love, there's always songs that everybody else loves that you just don't like. It is. I know so many Kiss fans love Tears Are Falling. I hate that song. I can't stand Tears Are Falling. Again, I made myself loving you. I hate that song. Like a lot of songs that a lot of people don't care about. Like I love Reason to Live. That song to me kicks ass. I love that old sound of Hard Luck Woman. Again, like the Kiss song Hide Your Heart. I don't like the Paul Stanley Hide Your Heart. If I had to listen to a song, I'd like the Ace Frehley Hide Your Heart better. I never really cared too much about that song. When I was young, the ballads meant bathroom break. That's funny, right? And Kiss's biggest ballad, the band members didn't even like it. They weren't even on it. They didn't even want that song on the Destroyer album, Beth. And that song saved the album. That song, as Peter Criss has said, that song had bought every band member cars. Priest is one of my all-time favorite bands, but not all of them hit for me. Turbo Lover was my go take a piss grab. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Every band has that one song that a lot of people like, a lot of people don't like. I mean, it's all right. And the thing is, I'd rather you be honest to say that than don't. Like a lot of people don't care for the song Mr. Speed. I love Mr. Speed. Rock and Roll All Over. Deuces, great song. The song Every Time I Look at You, I think that song's better than Forever. Right? A lot of people think I'm crazy. But it is. But I mean, Kiss got so many good songs, so many great songs, even though I might like a certain era better. But overall, man, Kiss catalog is just marvelous because there's so much for you to find certain songs you like. So when people say, I hate Kiss, I don't like Kiss, they have not listened to every song, because if you like hard rock, if you like hard rock and above, Kiss got some songs you will like. You're just saying you hate Kiss just to say it. It's like being popular. It's like a popular saying, I hate Kiss. And I love hard rock, but I hate Kiss. Really? Out of thousands of Kiss songs, there's not one you can't listen to? Are you truly telling me that? Are you truly telling my face that every single Kiss song comes on the radio? I hate that song. I hate that song. Well, I don't like the way Paul Stanley sings. Great. Okay. Gene Simmons sings half the songs. Well, I'm not, Gene. Okay. Ace sings some songs. And Peter Criss sings some songs. So when people say they hate Kiss, they're just saying it just to say it. If you don't like rock and roll at all, okay, I get that. But if you like rock, for you to come out and people say, I hate all Kiss, you're a fucking liar, because out of thousands of songs, there's not one Kiss song that you're like, okay, but this one's all right. You know? All right. Most Kiss songs are horrible, but that means there's some you like. Okay. Most. See, I'll take that than hearing I hate all Kiss songs. Because there is a song for everyone. If you like rock. Well, I guess if you like disco, you could probably find a disco song, right? They call me Dr. Love. Come on. What do you mean? This, listen, every band, Tears Are Falling is okay. See, for me, that's a song I hate. I hate that song. I love Calling Dr. Love. I love that song. See how we're different? It's fine. And it's fine. That's fine. I got 2 Kiss CDs today. All right. So what Kiss albums you get today? What are the 2 Kiss albums? Put it up there. I got to know, my friend. I got to know. You told us you got 2 Kiss albums. What were they? And I'm guessing you wrote, I got 2 Kiss albums. That means you bought physical copies of Kiss. And you know what's weird? Is it me? I always hear people say, I don't like what Gene says. You know, Gene always says this. And, you know, and there used to always be this complaint that one thing people hate about rock stars or musicians, that they never tell the truth. And here's Gene Simmons that tells you the truth on how he feels, and people don't like it. You know what I mean? I love how Gene Simmons is straightforward and tell you what his beliefs are, or what he likes and stuff. I love it. I love that Gene Simmons is not afraid to say what he says. Do you have to agree with it? All of it? No. I love it. The very best and Dress to Kill. Dress to Kill is a good one. I love CD so much. I miss physical media. Yeah, physical media. You don't have to worry if power goes out. Well, hopefully your players got batteries. You don't have to worry if your internet goes out. You always got good songs. You always play it. I don't agree with everything he says, but I respect his honesty. Exactly. And we all wish that politicians, musicians, and artists can speak from the heart and be truthful. And when Gene Simmons does, a lot of people don't like it. It's all right to say I disagree, but I love it that he is not afraid to speak out. I love it. I fucking love it. There's a difference between not liking the personality of the band or multiple of their look. The music is a different story. I got a Kid Dynasty and the 45 Heaven's on Fire. Yeah, if you don't like the look of them, that's fair. If you like the music better, that's fair. It's all fair. It's when you're saying honesty like that is what I like, right? I mean, yeah, you know what I mean? Like every Winger song, it's 10 times better than any Kiss songs. Hey, listen, buddy. If you like Winger better than Kiss, okay, that's great. That's great. Hey, that's fine. I don't think Winger holds a fucking candle to Kiss, especially Kiss's catalog versus Winger's little small catalog. But hey, if you like Winger better, so be it, man. So be it. You being honest, that's great. I still browse the local CDs when I tend to sound better than physical ownership is always cool to me. Love that. 80s Kiss was actually underrated other than the 2 songs, Smashes, Thrashing Hits, Politician. Let's put the sex in. Yeah. We're not here putting down 80s Kiss at all. All Kiss throughout their whole thing. I mean, there's great songs and everything. The only Kiss member I didn't like the look of was Vinnie Vincent. Yeah, I wasn't a Vinnie Vincent fan myself. I didn't even care for Vinnie Vincent Invasion. Didn't really care. And Vinny Vincent, the way he treated people, the way he treated Mark Slaughter and stuff. Yeah. Winger better than Kiss is a pretty warm take. Yeah. Kiss or Aerosmith. Both bands are great, but if I have to be honest with you, I listen to more Kiss songs than I do Aerosmith. So I prefer over Kiss, and Kiss has a way more catalog than Aerosmith. Aerosmith, great songs, great soul. But if I'm being honest with you, I listen to more Kiss than I do Aerosmith. But I love them both. No Ace, no Kiss. That's fair. You know, best Kiss members in your opinion, talent-wise. Best Kiss member in my opinion, talent-wise. Well, I mean, listen. The talent of the songs of the band is always going to be Paul, and Gene. They're the heart and soul of Kiss that kept Kiss going, created the sound, right? You know, but my favorite member has always been Ace Frehley because I love the way he, you know, Ace Frehley learned to play, and you could hear that. You could tell, you know, he wasn't like trained to a certain tone that you have to play like this, you have to sound like this. Ace was Ace, and I love when Ace started singing. I love Ace solo albums. I love Rock Soldiers. I love Into the Night. You know, I love, Ace Frehley, but talent-wise, I mean, you got to give it for Paul and Gene. You got to give it to them. There would be no Kiss without Paul and Gene. Peter and Chris helped make Kiss who they were, but talent-wise, you got to give it up for Paul and Gene. You know, they wrote majority of all the songs at the time, except Kojin. Ace Frehley, one of the best songs. But, you know what I mean? But Ace Frehley was always my favorite member, but even I would say that if it wasn't for Gene or Paul, Kiss wouldn't be around. I'd probably choose Aerosmith, but they both have their ups and downs. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. We all love Aerosmith. I'm just saying I probably listen to Kiss more than I do Aerosmith. And if I have to choose one, I have to choose Kiss because I listen to more Kiss songs than I do Aerosmith, but I love them both. First song got high was Tears Are Falling. That's awesome, dude. Slaughter was better. Slaughter was better than Vinnie Vincent Invasion. In my opinion, way better. Way better. I'm watching Deadliest Warrior. Aerosmith was my first concert. Oh my God. I love all you guys. Look at all these. I love all you guys. Motley Crue or Kiss? Okay, this will be the last question for today. I always try to make a show under an hour, but that's an unfair question because I grew up on Motley Crue. I got into music in '83. I got into music because of Shout Out the Devil and Too Fast for Love. That's nothing against Kiss. I love Motley Crue. I love Motley Crue more than Kiss. That's just, I grew up, Motley Crue what made me love music. You know what I mean? I mean, 83 is when I got into music. When I heard, a Live Wire and when I heard, Shout Out the Devil, that made me love the music. Motley Crue is the reason why I went back and listened to bands like Kiss, Aerosmith, Black Sabbath. Motley Crue, Rat got me into Black Sabbath, got me into Ozzy, got me into, later on, Cinderella I love, Poison, I love them all. But it was Motley Crue. The three bands that got me into total music was Motley Crue, Rat, and Def Leppard. Those were the three bands. But Motley Crue, I mean, when you're a kid, come on, 10 years old, Shout Out the Devil, come on. Right? Again, I didn't learn about Kiss until look it up. I remember them in that movie, Phantom of the Park. I said in the beginning of the show. But so Motley's my boys, right? Motley, Rat, and Def Leppard were the three bands that got me into all the music, got me into Ozzy, got me into everything. They were my end goat. So, I'm just being honest, right? So again, I want to thank every single one of you for being here. I fucking love seeing you guys all here. I'll be back again with the live show on Friday. Leave in the comments if you want me to stick with the 1 p.m. Pacific time rather than the 10 a.m. Pacific time I was doing in the past, right? So I was doing 10 a.m. I wanted to try out 1 p.m. If you guys like this time frame better, please let me know. Let me know in the comments. So when Friday comes around, I will do the show at this time. So let me know. I love you all. I can't wait to talk to you on Friday. Email me at Hair Metal Revolution. Tell me what topic you want me to talk about this Friday. Let me know, and we can do it. All right? All right. Yeah, also 1 p.m. So, again, I'll see you all back on Friday. Remember, the best videos are the ones we do live. Why? Because we all get to talk to each other live. That's what music's about, and that's what we're about. I love you all. I'll talk to you guys later.
We'll build a brighter future for everyone.